Hello and welcome to the Ruba podcast, your home, your runway. My name is Simon Barnum and joining me today we have the lovely Kris James. Kris, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Not at all. Thank you for coming in and joining us. Okay, let's get cracking. It says here that you are an English songwriter from Liverpool.
That's right.
You are, after performing as a lead singer in the boy band of The Scheme, Kris launched his solo career in mid-2018. All three of his singles charted in the UK Top 40. His debut single, Eyes Open, peaked at number 25 in the official iTunes chart. The follow-up single, Anymore, entered the official iTunes at number 1. Very nice. And that was on the first day of release as well.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Shocking, but very good.
And Kris, you are now launching a sustainable men's fashion label called Amanzo.
That's right.
Amazing. I mean, please, it sounds like you are a busy guy.
Well, you know, I've been in the music industry on and off for about 15 years. So I think with coronavirus, it was kind of the perfect excuse to find something else to do whilst we were not able to do anything creative, you know.
Right, as is all of us.
Yeah, so I've got a little apartment in Spain, and usually after the evening when the tide comes in and then goes out, there's always lots of rubbish, whether it be bottles or just stuff people leaving on the beach, but mainly coming out of the ocean. So yeah. I've always been quite thoughtful about sustainability anyway, and trying to reuse things and not waste stuff. I hate waste, especially food. But so I decided with a friend that we'd create, you know, living in Spain at the time, we all need swimwear. So we decided we'd do some swimwear, and then I kind of made it a bit bigger and put some underwear in there as well. So it's a, first and foremost, men's swimwear and underwear range, and it's made all from recycled plastic bottles. Which is actually secondary, but it's also fishermen's nets as well. So we found a really good company in Portugal who go out and actively buy the material from these sustainable companies, and then they make the most amazing swimwear and underwear, which we are about to launch in about 8 weeks' time.
That's insane. That really is insane and really inspiring. I remember there's a documentary that's floating about at the moment, I think, called, you know what I'm going to talk about, don't you?
Couldn't have come at a better time for us, but yes, Seaspiracy, absolutely shocking.
And one thing that I found that was quite informative was I didn't realise, like, the sea nets were actually a huge cause of the situation, of the problems out there.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is, I think most people look at it as plastic, but actually the plastic is secondary. The fisherman's net is the primary source of, you know, death. I mean, it's just outrageous. And I actually never knew that until that TV show. I mean, I'd gone to Portugal and I'd spoke to the manufacturers, and they said, you know, we use a lot of the Seaman's fishing nets. And I was thinking, Seaman's fishing nets? It's a bit strange, but great. What a great thing. But after that show, you know, I think everybody, I mean, our marketing team were just like, you know, we didn't know the extent of this. I mean, this terrible, you know, waste that is just dropped in daily into the oceans. I mean, don't quote me on this, but I'm sure it was something like the fisherman's net daily could wrap around the world 500 times.
Yeah, that's right, 500 times.
And I just thought, you know, it's just ridiculous.
You can't even think about that.
No.
It's like incomprehensible. Like,
absolutely.
How does that even happen?
So a lot of the industry now, fashion-wise, is moving into more sustainable products, you know, whether it be recycling old clothes or taking out all the plastics from the ocean. So we decided to create our company to be 100% sustainable, because a lot of the swimwear brands certainly are doing 1 or 2 lines, but we're one of the only companies in England at the moment that is specifically going to sell just in the UK. It's quite difficult for us at the moment with the whole Brexit situation. So we just decided it's better to keep it in England, you know, build a really cool boutique little brand that kind of grows. And we've got a lot of lovely people that are coming into the company now, and hopefully it's going to go really well. For me, it was more important to have a name that I'm proud of, you know, and have something that grows and gives back, you know. And I think the main problem that we will face based on conversations is that I think the fashion industry, you know, to the luxury end, they don't see recycled products as, you know, luxury.
Of course.
So, and actually, it's actually better, because you're not only solving a problem, you're giving something back to the consumer to make them feel good about themselves, you know. So we'll see what happens, but I think the biggest you know, mountain for us is going to be trying to get that message that actually just because it's recycled doesn't mean that it's not luxury, you know. Because it is. I mean, our brand is uber luxury at affordable price.
But you're right, it's important to get that kind of message out there,
Absolutely,
isn't it?
yeah.
And as you said, people that are going to kind of invest in sustainable stuff like yours, they're going to feel good about themselves.
Absolutely.
It's like they're giving something back as well.
Yeah, sure. I mean, for me, I like designers, not specifically because I love, oh, it's designer. It's about the durability. Most of the, if I spend, you know, quite a lot on a jacket, I've got it 10 years later, you know, and most of my friends will say,
yeah.
I don't like this new age fast fashion, you know, I wouldn't mention names for obvious reasons, but yeah, it's like, you know, you go to one outlet and you might spend £15 on a piece of, you know, clothing. You can wear it twice and it's finished, whereas you might spend 250, which most of my friends would say, you're crazy spending that. But the case study is 5 years later, I've still got that item, you know, which I wear proudly because it's important to have the durability in these products, you know, so...
Well, I think it's also about balance as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about having quality but at an affordable price.
Absolutely.
I think that's the key thing.
Well, I'm from Liverpool, so one of the main things for me was in Liverpool, we all love our, you know, our fashion and our luxury items.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a lot of it is very expensive. I mean, how can you justify £300-400 on a shirt, you know, but they get it. So I think for me, I wanted to also bring in the affordability. So we are on the same, you know, manufacturing line as the biggest swimwear company in England.
Insane.
But their prices are probably 5 times what we're going to be charging.
Yeah.
We are a little bit, I would say, you know, we're heading for the luxury market. The price point is, you know, it's going to be about £50 to £70, but, you know, people will very quickly realise that to make a sustainable product is about 4 times more expensive than making it by just buying the material, you know. The process of that recycling is an expensive thing to do. Of course, it solves a problem, but that also is a little bit of an issue because, you know, I wanted to try to keep our price point as low as possible because for me, it's about building the brand rather than, you know, the monetary aspect. That comes later, doesn't it, as like a byproduct of being successful. So we'll see what happens, but I'm very, very excited about this. I mean, I wouldn't have got the opportunity to do this brand had coronavirus not have come around. So, you know, I've hopefully made a positive out of this terrible situation we have found ourselves in.
Yeah, it's very inspirational, and I can't wait to see some of the stuff once
I
it's
hope you'll
launched.
be wearing this as well when you go on your holidays, when we can finally fly somewhere.
Well, that's it, yeah. Fingers crossed in 2 weeks. I'll, do a little snapshot for you. Not a problem.
Fabulous.
So that's your inspiration for that came from, you know, your home that you live out in Spain, but you've also got a home in London, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
That you've recently renovated?
I have, yeah. So again, with the coronavirus, I found out I had a lot of time on my hands and I've always wanted to move. I was in East London. I've been there for 5 years. When I initially moved to London, I stayed in West London and I really found West London lovely. I like the buildings. It's just a really
nice
quaint,
vibe, hasn't it, West
really
London?
Has,
yeah.
East is a lot more kind of cooler.
Yes.
You know, indie, and I think being in the music business, it's you're a cooler artist if you live in East London.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? Or if you live in Chelsea, you're not so cool. So I think knowing that I was kind of coming out, I'm still in the music industry. I'm going to finish off a record that I've kind of committed to with the label, but I kind of feel like you need to know when the time is right to bow out of something. So I think I'll probably just write for other people going into the next 10 years. But
yeah.
So anyway, so last year, the opportunity for an apartment came up in Knightsbridge, just behind Harrods, which is the most outrageous place to live. But lovely place. I bought it off a very nice, funny enough, she was an interior designer in her life, but was approaching 80 and not so well. So we had a conversation. I wrote her a letter because I was desperate for her to sell it to me because she was very, you know, who do I sell it to? Is it this company? Is it this young guy? Young guy. So I wrote her a lovely letter saying, you know, because the back of the house has got like a very small courtyard. And so I was like, you know, I could really write some amazing songs in that courtyard. You know, please sell me the house. So anyway, she sold me the house. So it was, it's an 1800-year build house. So it's one of the old mansions and just behind Harrods. So it's...
I know where you mean, actually.
Yeah, and it's
beautiful.
It's a lovely area. I've got a little garden at the back, so it's the garden flat. But it was in a really bad way, so it was a full rip out and full renovation, other than the kitchen, because the kitchen had gone in about 5 years previously. Okay. But everything else was, you know, there was no wallpapers. It was just all white walls. It was very damp. It had to be completely all the floors. I mean, it was a 4 month renovation, which was lucky for me because I was able to stay in my other house.
Would you say it was like a stressful journey for you, or did you enjoy the process of it?
I don't know what you would class it as stressful. I mean, getting the keys on a Monday and being robbed at knife point outside the house is probably not the best thing to happen.
We're going to come back to that actually, because I want to. I'm really interested in terms of what happened there.
So yeah, it was quite stressful doing the build. There was a couple of issues along the way, but I think in London there's so many workmen there. You have to be very careful because the majority are good, but there is some really bad ones.
Yep.
So I was lucky that I'd found the right team. So I kind of did a deal with the agency that was selling it that I could get in there before it closed to start the damp proofing, because that takes months and months to do. So it was all redamped, everything was damp proofed, and then we went in and we started with wallpapers. So I reached out to a friend of mine who actually sells wallpaper for hotels and stuff. So we decided on colours of carpet, and then we kind of went up from there to the wallpapers. So it's very I would say it's slightly over the top, but I wanted to keep it in keeping. So it's very lots of over the top colours. There's golds and champagne colours and silvers and very heavy, thick curtains, but big, thick pelmets. But I wanted to kind of keep the opulence, but also it's almost like a private members club. I would say that's what. Honestly, it's that type of feel. You walk in and it's very members club feel, very thick carpets, lots of velvet sofas and
stunning,
but it is beautiful. I suspended all the ceilings and built in alcovings and backlit it, so chandeliers in every room, and it's over the top, but I thought, because of that area, every house has to have a certain look, and I think those type of buildings don't really look that great if you just do a whole brand new, very new feel. So I wanted to have a bit of both, a mixture of the kind of old, but then the more contemporary feel as well.
Of course. I mean, it feels like a home. That's the important thing, isn't it?
And it really does. When I put the key in the door, I'm like, I'm home. It's the most amazing, because I'm on the road most weeks. So I get to go home probably the weekend, so I'm usually home Friday to Monday. Okay. And then the rest of the week I'm out working now, because I've opened an office for my fashion brand in Liverpool, because I kind of wanted to keep it, first of all, it's half price to buy an office there, but, rent an office. But I also wanted to keep it centrally northwest based, so I could work with people that do the boxing and keep it all in-house, so to speak, So for me, it's just amazing. I have no problems in driving 4 hours back on the motorway, because I know I'm going back to my little palace, which I just am so happy with.
That's it. And within your little palace, you do actually have a Ruber lamp, don't you?
I have many, yes.
Oh, you have many?
I have many lamps,
okay.
I've got a few on order. Yeah. I'd kind of got some sideboards that I wanted. The way the room is designed, it's kind of a square room, but then there's a chimney breast, which protrudes out. So there's 2 sideboards either side, and I needed obviously 2 wonderful lamps. So I ordered 2 initially, and within 4 days they arrived. They were packed. I've bought a lot of furniture from a lot of companies. The best packaging. It even came with gifts. I had a thank you letter. I had gifts. But I have to say the quality was really amazing, because for the price point, as an example, I'm waiting for 2 other lamps to come back into stock, which are now have arrived. Yeah. Can't wait to get them, guys. I ordered 2 other lamps, which are a similar style from another company, which I won't mention the name, but they were, probably a similar price point. And I was amazed at the lamps that arrived from Ruber Home, which was this heavy brass weighted, just beautiful, really, really beautiful, wonderful lampshade. And the quality I'm all about quality, but I also want to make sure that it's at the right price. Yeah. These lamps I would see in some London stores for probably 5-6 times what I paid for them. And that's what I paid the price online. But then the testing point was, whilst I was waiting for the new lamps to come back in stock, I ordered 2 others from I would say they're not a competitor, but they're probably a step down in quality. But they arrived in 1 box, and they were just like, I would say if the lamps from Ruber Home were, say, 3-4 kilos a lamp, these lamps were at 500 grams. I mean, they're made out of plaster of Paris, and they look great. But someone comes into the house and they'll go, wow, they look good. And I'll go, pick them up. And they go, oh my goodness. So I was really, one of the main things I was amazed at was how they can produce such quality for the price point. I
Yeah.
mean, don't put the prices up, guys, you know, but what I'm saying is that the quality is just, I think it's one of the best. I would say that those lamps are the best that I've got in my house. That's why I'm ordering multiple more.
That's it, yeah. No, I
Absolutely.
happen to agree with you. And the one that I have in my home as well, it's got its own special area, and it lights up my whole room. I love it.
Well, for the room that I've put them in, because it's a garden flat, you don't get much light. So every day I have quite a lot of light, but as the sun goes down, it goes very, very dark very quickly.
Yeah.
So, but because of that, my house is very low light. You know, you look much better in low light anyway. but I did call them actually to say, you know, are they dimmable? And they said, well, they're not dimmable, but you can get these lamps. So I got these like kind of warm lamps that screw in, and you can control them on your phone, and they go from like very bright to like just the most amazing. So I have a daytime setting which is like uber bright, and then at nighttime they go down to about 20%.
Amazing.
So not only do they look great, it's the mood that they set, which, you know, depending on who I'm entertaining, it's very important to set the correct mood within
even
within
if you've
each
done
room.
like a 4-hour drive back from Liverpool, the last thing you want is bright lights. You just
bright lights.
No.
And I can, you know, before I get to the house, I can control them on my phone, so everything's on when I get in. It's amazing, honestly, really clever.
Insane. So then, Kris, tell me, you know, you've renovated your home. I can obviously tell how important it is for you to kind of have the right kind of setting to create the right kind of environment and mood for you. But just in your own words, the concept of a home, what does that mean to you?
Well, for me, certainly, it's about somewhere that you go and you just feel safe. I don't really know how to explain it, because I'm almost like a common day traveller, because I've lived in so many places. But I think that you know when you've arrived home. So if I've got an apartment in Liverpool, when I get there, it's not home, it's just saves me staying in hotels. So I stay there, it's all right. But when I get back to my house in London, I don't know, it's just, as soon as I shut the door, you just feel, it's like a feeling of safety, you know, and and I feel really happy there. Whereas when I'm in other places, I don't have the same feeling. So home, ironically, is definitely where the heart is for me. And I feel I love to be there for, for instance, the lockdown has been terrible for a lot of people. I've loved it, because from having to fly each month to different places for work, I've had 16 months to sit there and do nothing.
Of course.
So I bought some places and renovated them, but now I'm almost like, friends are saying, would you like to go for dinner? I'm like, no. I want to stay home. I actually like staying at home. In fact, I have my friends over for dinner now. So generally on a Friday, I've got a little dining room which I'll lay out a bit like, I think Dom said it was a bit like an Italian restaurant, you know, the white, it's all over the top linens and silverware. So I'd rather have, I think especially with this pandemic, I think restaurants will be struggling with capacity, because we're not open out indoors yet, which we will be obviously soon. So I just think for me, it's nice for my friends to come to me now. You know, I can have comfortably 6 people having dinner, probably 4, 6. The kitchen would be a nightmare for me, because I do panic with cooking. I'm like, But so I'm really, really happy. And for me, home is where the heart is. I know it sounds silly, but
no, it doesn't sound silly at all.
I feel really safe and really nice there.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly where I was going to go. You did mention about safety earlier, and you did have a bit of an incident a while back during lockdown.
I did, yeah. It was just shocking, you know, being from Liverpool. Who'd have thought I'd be getting robbed? You know, I mean, they always say the Scousers are the thieving people, but we're obviously not. We're very lovely people.
You are.
But we have a set, you know. The ironic thing is a Liverpool person being robbed, you know, it's not heard of. But yeah, I mean, I collect some bits and bobs, and I've got some nice timepieces, because I enjoy watches. And I got the keys on the Monday, sometime in October. And of course, with it being lower ground floor, I was kind of in and out trying to I haven't got a signal, I'll just pop outside. And I was trying to get my car parking permit, and it was taking a long time. So say I was on the phone for 45 minutes. I then went home, back into the house, and then I was driving to Liverpool because it was a Wednesday. And I just come out of the house and literally walked towards my car bonnet, and this bike just razzed up. One guy got off, and I thought, it kind of simulated a pizza delivery. It was like he was coming to ask me the directions to something. And the next minute, he just started shouting, the watch, and then pulled this knife out and kind of pushed it into my side of my leg. Where I live, all the cars are kind of, it's a garden area, so the car park are parked around the garden. And so he kind of got me in between the cars, so I couldn't run.
No.
And I thought, and he kind of, the way he got me is like the knife was in the leg and then his other hand was on my wrist trying to get me to release this watch. And this particular watch had a concealed clasp, so it was very hard. You kind of have to get your nail in and dig it, and he's like, get the what? And I'm thinking, will you just give me a moment? You know, it takes time. So I suppose the problem there is, you know, you kind of have to just let that go, which was annoying because some of the watches I collect, you're on a wait list for 5 years to get them, because they're quite a, you know, a collector's piece, and that was a very, very good collector's item. So that went, and I think you have a choice in life to let things like that affect you, you know, and my kind of standpoint was I'm not going to let the lowest common denominator affect my experience in my new... Because initially, you know, everyone was saying, you have to sell the house. I'm like, I've only had it 24 hours. I can't sell it. You know,
I've literally just got the key.
Yeah, so of course, you know, with it being outside the house, you know, you do think, well, if they see that watch, they're going to think it's going to be a gold mine inside the house. So basically, I decided that my front door was made out of half glass, half wood, and I just thought it's just going to be a kick and they're going to be in. So I Googled the strongest doors in England, and a company called Henley Home Security Doors was the first one that came up. And they do, I don't think they did the door, but they did the finish on 10 Downing Street. So it's that kind of, they're made from 50 mil of steel and then 20 either side of wood. So they're an expensive door, but they are, you will not get through. In fact, they have to crime check you in order to have the door and the front door because,
of course,
you know, if you're a naughty person of society, then you're basically concealing yourself in from the police. So, I said, no, I've got no crime records. I'm completely fine. You know, so I had the front door done, and then I also had a panic room installed, which I know is ridiculous, like something out of a film. But the problem is, especially in the more affluent areas, if these people get in, they don't believe. I don't have any assets in my house other than bits of artwork, which, you know, you'd have a hard time getting off the wall. But for obvious reason, I don't have any assets now. But people that break in, they don't believe that. Oh, you live in Knightsbridge. Where's the safe? Where's the money? And they're torturing. I mean, you know, it's just terrible. I don't want to scare the viewers, but I mean, it is the reality of what is happening.
I even think that's kind of besides the point. I think the fact that someone has the ability to be able to get inside your home is coming into your personal space, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think going back to what you said, how would you then feel about your house? It wouldn't feel safe. And I probably wouldn't want to stay there. Some of my family have had traumatic robberies, you know, in the countryside, and some of them have just sold the following month. Some have decided to stay. But I think when that intrusion happens, it takes a long time for your mental ability to forget that, or at least put it to one side.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So for me, I was desperate to get them. I mean, these doors take 3 months to manufacture, so I was like, oh my goodness. So they were lovely. They came out. They said, you absolutely need a front door because that'll be 10 seconds and they'll be in.
That's it.
And they said, you know, if you want a panic room, it's worth having one. So I've had a panic room installed, which it just sounds so LA, that doesn't it?
It's very Jodie Foster, I have to say.
But you know, I think you have to feel safe in your home, and I think when that situation happened, I think that the coronavirus, obviously a lot of people are out of work. It's so sad. Everyone's been terribly affected by it. And I thought in my own mind, well, this type of thing is only going to get worse before it gets better. So I don't want to be part of that. I don't want knives coming at me. You know, it's not a good thing to happen.
No, it's not good.
I think I've actually handled it very well, to be honest. I mean, I kind of just brushed it off and was like, well, they obviously needed it more than me. But then I think it takes a few weeks for it to actually hit home that you nearly knifed at your doorstep.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think mindset is very important. I know I've been through a similar experience myself, and I think you can let it kind of recur in your mind constantly, and it kind of overtakes, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Or you just have to kind of push through and go, you know what, it was just a bad experience. I'm not going to let it tarnish the way that I'm going to continue to live the rest of my life, you know?
And that's exactly what you've got. You have to look at it like that. And then I also feel a little bit of compassion for the people, because when they're actively going out robbing people, they're obviously not in the best position in their own life. So let's just hope they get better as well at being a person, because, you know,
that's it.
It's sad for them because they're obviously in need for something.
Of course.
But, you know, I also think that you make your own life what it is. So, you know, you have to get up and get out of bed and create opportunities for yourself, you know?
Yeah. So would you say then that like kind of like being mugged outside your home has changed the concept of how how you see your house? Would you see it like a sanctuary, a safe space, especially now with your new doors as well?
Oh yeah, I mean, for me, I feel 100% safe. One, because I know that the doors are guaranteed for, I think, 60 minutes. They can't get in, even if they've got batten rams. So they're not getting in. And I've got, I mean, it really is like a bank now. I've got radar cameras. I mean, the place will fill of smoke if somebody gets in and the people see. I mean, it really is like a bank.
Extreme. Okay.
But I just thought to myself, you know, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. You know, I like, if I'm going to do something, I do it properly, because you do it right the first time and then you don't have to do it again, you know.
Absolutely.
That's why I bought lamps from this wonderful company. No, but it is the truth. You know, you buy quality, you don't have to buy twice. So I feel, I don't feel the greatest getting out my car, but you know, getting into the house, because I'm like looking around, but we do have street security in the evening. But yeah, I feel very secure, and I also think that making it the house what it is. I mean, a house is a house, isn't it? You make it,
of course,
what it is by how you dress it and then the lovely things that you have in there. But yeah, I feel marvelous in the house now.
Yeah, and you can't just kind of put it down to one bad experience to let that ruin the rest of your journey.
Well, I think that was kind of the decision I had. It was like, you know, we have to make a decision to let that affect you or not. And
absolutely.
The decision is you don't let it affect you,
absolutely. Know? Yeah, no, I hear you. All right, well, we're going to move on now to COVID. Ooh. You know, I hear that you had quite a tough time with that.
Well, you know, the tough time was the fact that I got a diagnosis on the 20th of December, and whilst I'd got the flat in Knightsbridge, I'd also got one in Liverpool, and they were simultaneously being renovated. So the one in Liverpool is nowhere near as fabulous as the Knightsbridge one, but it's still lovely. Mm-hmm. And so I'd said to all my family and friends, look, we're going to have Christmas Day together. Well, 6 of us. There's only 6 of us. But, you know, so I pushed to have the renovations finished. And I mean, it was the one day, it was an absolute nightmare. I've got two small bathrooms, and they'd put the tiles in one that should have been in the other. So I was just like, I'm going to kill these guys. Yeah. This is a nightmare.
Deep breathing.
So we pushed, and it was finished by the 18th of December. So on the 20th, because I had grandparents coming on the 23rd, I thought I'd better go and get a COVID check. So the week before, I'd ordered all the food and champagne, everything from Dalesford. It was all, spent a fortune. It was all being delivered to Liverpool. So on the 20th, I went with my friend who basically lived with me for the whole renovation, and he was negative. And I thought, why haven't I had a test come back yet? Yeah. An hour later, you're positive for COVID. I was like, you are absolutely joking me. So I went and had a second test, and they said, yeah, you're positive. So you have to self-isolate for 10 days. So I was like, right. Cancel Christmas, you know, I have to, you know, it's 10 days, and obviously Christmas was 5 days after that. Yeah. So I went home, and to be honest with you, I didn't have any adverse symptoms other than a slight bit of dizziness. But then after the 5th day, I started to get little bits of nosebleeds and coughing up bits of blood. So
okay.
Yeah, so but then with that, it was a little bit dizzy, you know, on the side. So what happened was I called 111, because I said, you know, you're not telling people about this particular thing I'm experiencing. So
yeah, I'd never heard that, actually.
Yeah, well, it's a good job I called up. She said, well, what is it you're experiencing? I said, well, I've got a slight dizziness, but I'm also having bits of blood when I'm coughing. And she said, can I just stop you there? I'm going to call you a blue light ambulance. And I'm like, what? Yeah. And she said, there's so many people that have passed away, and I'm not going to scare you, but I have to be very frank with you. The people that have died under the age of 40 have died due to blood clots associated with COVID-19. So we have to get you into a hospital now and completely scanned everywhere to make sure that you're not clotting, because if you are, it's deathly, you know. So, of course, I'm like, could this get any worse? I think this was after Christmas, or the 20th, it was the day after Boxing Day, it was, I called up. And I'm like, I just bought the flat. I'm now being carted out in an ambulance. You know, it's like, were they going to think I'm a nutcase? So I said, please, can you not call the ambulance? She said, no, I have to call.
Yeah,
I said,
of course.
Well, can I not just go to the hospital? She said, no, because you've got COVID, so we need to pick you up by an ambulance. So anyway, the ambulance came. They did all my observations. They said, look, you're fine, but the problem is that you're dizzy, which tells us you may be lacking oxygen, which could be the fact that you've got blood clots in your lungs. Not good. Don't worry, you're now in safe hands. Let's get you to the hospital. So I went. I have to say, they were very, very good. I was put on a COVID ward, which was a bit shocking, you know, seeing people on ventilators. It was just really not good. Yeah. Not ventilators, I beg your pardon. They were all on oxygen, but old people struggling, you know. So I was checked out, and I was in for about 18 hours. But, you know, it was quite worrying because they took my blood and they checked my blood turned out to be quite thick. But what I found the most shocking was that they're not reporting the fact that this dizziness and coughing up blood is actually a very dangerous symptom that could lead to death within a couple of weeks. Yeah. So luckily enough, I was put on a blood thinner for a week and I was fine. Yeah. And I didn't have any clots, but they were very good. They scanned my brain and my chest and everything came back clear. But, you know, I did put on my social media, you know, anyone that's experiencing this, go to the hospital and just get, you know, don't panic, but go and get checked out, because that is something that they are not discussing, which is it's actually a very serious symptom, you know, which people, if they do get it, make sure you go and get that checked out.
Well, absolutely. No, I totally hear you. I mean, I actually had it myself in March last year. Yeah. And I have to say, mine was relatively quite smooth going compared to what I'd heard all of the horror stories. So I was quite lucky in that respect. I had like 3 days in bed and sweats, shivers, shakes and all of that sort of stuff. But I will say that to this day that some of my senses, my taste and my smell are still tainted.
So you've got long COVID?
I've got long COVID, yeah, that's right. So things like celery. Celery actually makes me feel like I'm going to throw up.
Go away.
Yeah, it's insane. And I loved celery, but I can walk past it in the aisles and the smell of it is just, it's vile now.
Well, I didn't have any symptoms other than the dizziness, but then on Christmas Day, it must have been my sense of taste, because I opened a marvellous bottle of Pulley Montache and it tasted like Lamborghini. So I thought, well, I've obviously lost my sense of taste now, because that wine is vile. So yeah, I did have that.
That's brilliant.
It's quite strange, isn't it, losing your... Because we take for granted, you know, losing the sense of taste, like how important it is to... Because then everything's just bland, isn't it? You know?
Well, do you know what? I was a little bit bummed out by it at the beginning, to be fair. I thought, is this going to recover? Where do I go with this? Things like chocolate, coconut taste. I can't even describe the taste of coconut. And without being too grim, my sweat, and I'm only talking about this because it came up on Facebook the other day that somebody else is going through a similar situation. My sweat actually smells of onions.
Go away.
Yeah, and I had to
get too close to you.
I know, don't get close at all. I had to get a friend of mine to literally smell my armpit and say, please tell me that what I'm smelling is just literally long COVID.
And it was.
And it was. She was like, no, it just smells like you've been to the gym. Go and have a wash. But to me, it smells like it's a full of like.
That's crazy. Isn't
it's crazy, isn't it?
It's the most strange infection. I mean, I'm happy that I've got it, because I suppose once you've had it, the body recognises what that infection is.
Right,
but, you know, a lot of people struggle because initially it is an alien infection that we've never processed before. So I think that's why panic stations was the body's like, well, what is this that's going on in my body? But so I mean, it obviously affected my brain, and because I mean, at least I know I've got one now. But you know, it was a strange, dizzy, like very strange sensation. But I didn't have sweat. Didn't really feel ill. I mean, I still cooked Christmas lunch, and I had a little glass of champagne with the Queen's speech, which tastes terrible. But I no adverse side effects really, other than this dizziness and you know, blood clots, apparently.
Good. Yeah, that's it. Well, make sure you stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe. Wear your mask.
That's it. Do all the necessary things at the moment. We're not quite there yet, are we?
We're not, Well, saying we're not quite there, on Saturday I went to the world's first rave, which was government-led.
Oh, my God.
By
amazing.
the scientists.
I saw this,
Unbelievable. You know, there was 6,000 clubbers. They had some of the best DJs around the world over Friday and Saturday. I went on the Friday. We were tested on the Thursday, on the morning of the Thursday, and then the morning of the Thursday, and the morning of the Friday. Yeah. Went to the event. It was amazing. You know, no social distancing, no masks. We had a ball. I seen friends I haven't seen for 2 years, and we were all cuddling and kissing, you know. And the most amazing thing was they tested everybody the day after, and I just had a test this morning, and not one person caught COVID from that event.
Insane.
So it shows that with the right trials and the right testing, we can actually start this industry and get artists back on the stage, you know.
Yes.
It's just so important, because the arts have really suffered.
It
you know,
really
theatres closed. And I had 2 shows and two tours, you know, ongoing, and they were cancelled. One was with Anastasia, who's like my mother's idol. Yeah. That was last October, and it was just all, you know. So it's nice to see now that the government are taking steps in order to get the artists back on the stage. Yeah. And I think last weekend was most certainly a very good indication that we can actually do it in a safe way now.
That's it. I think it will be a new normal, but
Yeah.
you know, the important thing is that there are stepping stones that we are kind of, you know, to getting back on track.
Well, what is the problem for doing a bit of a swab test before you go to an event? You know, at least you know you haven't caught a cold, and actually it'll be good in the long run because it will also stop transmitting loads of different colds and flus. You know.
That's right. Yeah. It just makes you think, doesn't it, when you kind of you would just have a common cold or something like that. You
feel a bit sick. I'm going out, you know.
That's it.
But I think it's the way forward, and I don't see a problem with being tested 24 hours before any event. You know, I think it's going to be quite problematic for smaller venues to do it, but I think, you know, maybe the way is that we start with these big club events once a month, or, you know, and then everyone you have time to get yourself tested and be safe, you know. That's
it, isn't it? I think it's just kind of putting those things in place, and I think everyone's just kind of finding their feet with all of this at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah. You know? It's new, isn't it? It's a new thing.
It is a completely new thing, but I feel like there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Me too, especially after going and raving my head off all weekend. I just think it was, do you know, that wasn't, I can't explain how it felt. I mean, we had an interview, the Warner Records were there because they had a couple of their artists on, and they were saying, you know, how does it feel? And I'm like, you know, I can't even tell you. It's like we're doing something that's like a new thing that we've never done before, because we've kind of had for the past 2 years, like, you can't, you're not allowed to do it. And now we can. It's like, are we allowed to do this? This is so weird, you know?
Even hugging your friends and stuff like that. That must have been like a...
I never hugged my mother for like a year and a half, you know, because she was worried. You know, she's approaching 70, and she has a small illness that could, you know, make her very ill. Of course, so, you know, I mean, not hugging your own parents, that I've never, you know, so it's just a given, isn't it? You give, bye, Mum.
Yeah, you take it for granted.
Terrible. Like, bye, Mum. So weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm happy you're right. We're at the end of it now. Thank
goodness. That's it. No, I totally agree with you. So Kris, tell me then, what is your motivation in life? What gets you up and out for the day?
Being alive. I love being, first of all, being healthy.
Yeah.
But I'm very, very thankful for everything that I've got in my life, and I think you have to start your day with that mindset of being really thankful for what you've got. And I know it's obviously people go, oh, what's he like saying that? But actually it's the truth, you know. I really, whenever anything happens good for me, I'll always give praise. But my morning is, I have to have a lie-in. I mean, I think sleep is very important. So I don't raise my head out of the bed till about 9:30, but that's just because I don't sleep until around 2, because I'm very active, you know, and running your own business, it really doesn't stop.
No, of course.
But for me, it is about waking up with the mindset of being happy to have another day, and being healthy, and being able to get out and meet people and go to the gym and just feel good about yourself.
Well, we can do that now, can't we?
We can.
Yeah, you know, the gyms are opened and stuff like that. Just being active. And
I try to do it at home. I've got a guy that comes and trains me in the house, but it's just not the same. So I've just booked in to get back into the gym after 18 months. So I'll be able to look a bit, you know, more chiseled, hopefully, you know, because I think everyone's I'm at least a stone heavier than I normally am. But I'm kind of also coming out of the industry a little bit musically. Okay. The pressures of, you know, starving myself for a music video is not there anymore now. So I think just by design, I've gained about, you know, 7 or 8 kilos, but it's still fine. It's my walking weight, but I'm really excited to get back into the gym and saunas and you know, getting health and well-being is very important.
Well, it's also about releasing those endorphins, isn't it? You know, it's not just about, you know, looking aesthetically pleasing. It's just kind of just the mental state as well. I think the mental state is so prominent, you know. Absolutely,
you're absolutely right. I mean, I do it for the internal health, you know. I think if you wanted to have an athletic lifestyle, you really can't drink. There's so much things you have to do, and that's why athletes look amazing. But as soon as they finish their career, they don't look as great. Because there has to be an enjoyment element of life. You know, it can't always be, well, how do I look? Well, I can't eat that or drink that because I won't look like that. You know.
That's it.
So so my mindset now is more about longevity of the body. Whatever that means.
So hopefully now that we are coming out of lockdown, is there any sort of advice that you would give to people out there that you feel are perhaps struggling?
Ooh, goodness me, yeah. I mean, you know, I go back to what we've just spoke about, which is the health and well-being. I think people that don't, like for instance, in lockdown, because the gyms were closed, I picked up a skipping rope. Ridiculous as it is, but I have to say it's amazing. I mean, no wonder boxers look so great.
Yes,
the skipping is unbelievable, but I think you know, the only way to elevate your mental health is by having a good state of well-being, and that comes from raising your cardiovascular, you know.
That's right, yeah.
So I think, you know, for people that are coming out now, you know, they need to, well, they don't need to, they could take up some sort of form of exercise. You know, I've really found great benefit in exercising at home with a skipping rope and sitting down for 5 minutes a day and just being with myself.
Nice.
Meditation, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
I bought this very small thing. It's called, it's a pebble, and it's like a pebble. It goes on in between your heart, your chakra here, and it vibrates. So it's a 5-minute meditation, and it just, and it's weird because you're on your bed lying there, like and you're in and out, and it kind of, it almost levitates, and it gives you like an experience that is unlike just sitting there meditating. But I think my advice would be more mindful and introduce a little bit of exercise if you don't do it. And those two things will make you feel fabulous. My favorite word.
All right, well, we're going to move on to some quick fire questions now. So I'm literally just going to throw some stuff at you.
Oh, no.
Yeah, literally. It's all right. It's not too bad.
All right.
And then, yeah, just whatever comes first answer, just fire it back at me. Are you ready?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, no pressure. Nice car or nice home interior? Now, be careful.
Nice home interior has to be.
I think so, actually. I agree with you on that one. Online shopping or shopping in a store?
Shopping in a store.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I'm with you, actually. Yeah. Would you rather travel the world for free for a year or have £100,000 to spend however you please?
Oh, definitely travel the world free for a year.
Right.
I could spend 100 grand a day. I'm joking.
I love that. Would you rather someone see all of the photos in your phone or read all of your text messages?
Oh my goodness. I think I'd rather than read my text messages.
Okay. Would you rather be the funniest person in the room or the most intelligent?
The funniest.
Right, okay.
Because you never forget a funny person, whereas intelligence is, but both are very important. I think intelligence is like, wow. But a funny person, you will always remember that person.
You always want them at your party,
they were
don't you?
hysterical. Whereas they wouldn't say, well, he was really educated. They wouldn't say that. They'd say, they were funny.
Yeah,
so yeah,
bring them
the funniest person in the room, which generally I am. So go from experience, I'm not the most educated.
Would you rather rule the world or live in a world with absolutely no problems at all?
Live in a world with no problems. Of course, I'd love to rule the world, but you know, you have to think about everybody. A world peace would be fabulous. I'm happy to give up my throne of running the world.
Would you rather be a millionaire by winning the lottery or by working 100 hours a week?
Working 100 hours a week. I feel with that, I know it's a quiet question, but I have to give you the reason for that. I think winning the lottery is it's an easy thing, and I think most people, I know a few that have won it, it disappears very quickly.
That's it.
When you work, I find myself now, I'm working a lot harder than I was as a musician. I even look at a purchase and go, well, that cost is going to cost me 20% more because I have to pay 20% tax before I purchase that.
Right, yeah.
So I think when you work really hard, you appreciate what you've got more.
Yeah. A level of education comes with that.
Yeah, absolutely, you know, and I think it's so important. Anyway, I won't stop these.
No, you're fine. Last one. Would you rather have a meeting with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, or the Queen?
Oh, the Queen, of course. I'm a royalist. I absolutely love the Queen. Yeah, so I'd love to meet her for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say I've actually met the Queen.
Oh, I missed an opportunity. I got invited to the Liverpool One project where they were opening a new supermarket. It's like a new development by the Duke of Westminster. And she opened it, but I don't know what, I didn't go. I think I was in school and I was like, nah. But now I'm like, why didn't I meet the Queen? I love her now. I'm such a royalist now.
Well, it's interesting you say that. When I met the Queen, she literally, I've got video footage of it as well, and she shook my hand, but to this day, I still cannot remember what she said to me.
Yeah, because you're in awe, aren't you? Yeah,
people ask me, like the video's there, but what did she say to you? I have no recollection.
Hello, how are you?
Gone, completely
I
gone.
love her.
Well, Kris, listen, thank you so much for coming in and having a chat to us. It really has been a pleasure talking to you.
Great to speak to you as well. I know I go on a lot, but, you know, we had a lot to cover.
We did have a lot to cover. And for all of our listeners out there, I suggest you go and check out Kris's Instagram, which I'm just going to get right, is at Kris James.
At Mr. Kris James.
At Mr. Kris James, spelled with a K. So check him out, give him a follow. And thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to our listeners. And we will be back soon with another Ruba podcast.